AITA for letting my daughter get payback on my wife for taking her college fund? So I am 41 years old, and I guess I should start from the beginning. I work in logistics for one of those big national shipping companies that everyone uses without ever really thinking about it. I started at the very bottom of the ladder, literally moving boxes in a warehouse 15 years ago. Today, I am a logistics manager, which sounds more impressive than it really is, but it pays pretty well. I do not drive a luxury car or anything, but we lived comfortably. I have been married to Nicole, who is 39, for 16 years, and we have twins, Mason and Haley, who are now 17. When we met, Nicole was working at a local coffee shop near the warehouse. I stopped there every morning, and honestly, she had something special. Not the social media influencer type, just a simple, down-to-earth woman who could make you laugh about anything. She liked simple things. We could spend entire weekends watching shows or having barbecues with friends. That is what made me fall in love with her. We got married quite young. I was 25, she was 23, and the twins arrived right after. The first few years were tough, I will not lie. I was still working in the warehouse, taking every overtime shift I could. Nicole had a part-time job at a hair salon, but with twins, daycare would have taken her entire paycheck. So, we decided she would stay home with the kids. I worked extremely hard. I took every possible overtime hour, worked through the holidays, learned every aspect of the business, and then climbed the ranks, supervisor, operations coordinator, then finally manager. It took years, but we eventually reached a good spot. We bought a decent 4-bedroom house in a family-oriented suburb with excellent public schools. Nothing luxurious, but the kind of place where kids can ride their bikes safely. Nicole seemed happy, at least, that is what I thought. She got to be a stay-at-home mom, which she said she wanted, taking the kids to their activities, volunteering at school, all that. We were not rich, but we went on vacation every summer, often driving, but still. We could buy what the kids needed and put a little money aside. Then about 2 years ago, something changed. At first, it was subtle. She joined a local gym, which seemed normal. But then, she started spending more and more time there. She lost nearly 30 pounds. Even though she did not need to, she bought herself a bunch of new workout clothes. She went out on girls' nights with her new gym friends. She came home later and later. Suddenly, our life was not exciting enough anymore. Movie nights were boring. Family dinners became a routine. She started making remarks about other people's lives, like her friend Ashley who traveled all the time, or her gym buddy Kayla, who was living her best life. Man, I hate that expression now. I tried to talk to her. You know, one night after the kids were in bed, I sat down with her and asked what was wrong, if she was missing anything. Her answer still makes me furious when I think about it. Nothing is wrong. Brian, I just want more out of life than being stuck in this routine. We are so boring. When I brought up the kids, she rolled her eyes, literally like a teenager. They are teenagers. Brian, they do not need me constantly watching over them anymore. I need to think about myself for once. Think about herself, as if she had not already been doing that for years. I was working 50 hours a week so she could have the life she wanted, and suddenly it was not enough. I should have seen what was coming. But you know how it is. When you are in it, you make excuses. Maybe she is going through something. Maybe it is a phase. Maybe if I work even harder, if I save more, she will be happy again. I started putting even more money into the kids' college savings accounts, thinking she was stressing about their future. Like an idiot, I thought we could fix things. I suggested we do more activities together, weekend trips, new restaurants, but nothing was ever good enough. She always had an excuse. Gym class, going out with friends, whatever. The twins had noticed it too. Haley asked me why her mom did not come to her soccer games anymore. Mason would get quiet as soon as Nicole was around, as if he sensed something was wrong. I just kept telling them, and telling myself, that everything was fine. Man, what an idiot I was. And the way I found out what was really going on is probably the most difficult part of this whole story. It was a regular Tuesday night. I was in my home office, well, the corner of the basement where I had set up a desk, working, when Mason came downstairs looking like someone about to be sick. Mason has always been the more reserved of the two. Haley is outgoing, he is much quieter. But this time, it was different. He stood there for a good minute before managing to speak. "Dad, I think you need to see something." He pulled out his phone and opened a dating app. I did not even know he had one. But that is another story. And he started scrolling. And there she was. Nicole, my wife of 16 years, but not the Nicole I knew. There were all these posed gym photos I had never seen, where she called herself Free Spirit and said she was ready to explore life's adventures or some other nonsense like that. Looking at her photos on the dating app, I felt a level of anger and betrayal I did not even know I was capable of. My hands were shaking while I held Mason's phone. Here was the mother of my children posting photos in ways I never imagined. While I work 50 hours a week to fund our kids' college accounts, she was trying to present herself in a completely different light. I had to step away from Mason for a minute, go into the garage, and just breathe. Because all I could think about was all the times she said she was too tired to come to Haley's soccer game. Or when she missed Mason's science fair because she supposedly had a headache. She was probably taking those photos or meeting up with that personal trainer. 16 years of marriage, 2 kids. All those memories reduced to this situation displayed on a dating app. And my son had to see that. My kid had to show me the proof that his mother was trying to connect with people online. You want to talk about betrayal? Try watching your teenage son apologize to you because his mother was not even capable of keeping things private on dating apps that his friends could see. And what made the situation even worse was that Mason had only found out because his friend Cody was on the app and recognized her. Imagine that for a second. Your buddy is scrolling through profiles on a dating app and stumbles upon your mom. The poor kid was devastated for days before finding the courage to talk to me about it. And while all this was happening, Haley, bless her organized little heart, was helping me sort out paperwork for taxes. She has always been good with numbers. She wants to be an accountant someday. And there, she noticed strange withdrawals from their college savings accounts. When the twins were born, I opened separate accounts for each of them. I had been depositing money in there every month since they were babies. Nothing huge, just what I could. A few $100s here, a few $100s there. By the time they turned 17, each account had about $45,000. Not enough for fancy private colleges, but enough to give them a good start at a public university. I thought the money was safe since the accounts were in their names, but it turns out Nicole always had access. Haley started adding up all the withdrawals. Almost $30,000 missing from each account over the past year. When she showed me the statements, I thought I was going to be sick. Completely random ATM withdrawals, transfers to accounts I did not recognize. I confronted Nicole that evening, but without mentioning the dating app. I figured maybe there was an explanation, right? Maybe she was investing the money somewhere smarter. Yeah, I know, I am an idiot. She did not even try to deny it. She just sat there with this look on her face, like I was the one being unreasonable. I deserve to enjoy life a little, Brian. I sacrificed my youth for this family. Okay, wait, I need to pause for a second here. There are actually women, and men too, let's be honest, who spend years feeling invisible in their marriage. Not because their partner is abusive or horrible, but simply because life becomes mechanical. Wake up, kids, bills, sleep, and do it again. And somewhere in that routine, they stop feeling like people and start feeling like a function, a role. And that feeling is real, even if what Nicole did because of that feeling was completely wrong. But here is the part that really makes me uncomfortable. Brian was working 50 hours a week, always providing financially, constantly moving forward. That is admirable. Truly, but I wonder, and I am going to be honest here, how many real conversations they actually had. Not logistical conversations, not, did you pay the electric bill? Real conversations. Because Nicole did not wake up one morning suddenly becoming this person. It was probably building up silently for years and nobody noticed. Or maybe they did notice and just hoped it would pass. I am not trying to excuse taking money from your own kids. That is indefensible. Period. But this idea of the routine marriage slowly losing its spark is happening in millions of homes right now. And most people are just hoping theirs is not one of them. Now, back to the original poster. Those were her exact words, as if it justified taking $60,000 meant for her own children's future. I asked her what that money went toward. She started listing things off like it was perfectly normal. New clothes, spa days, girls' weekend trips, some life coaching program. Then she hit me with it. The kids can take out student loans like everyone else. I needed that money to find myself. Find herself? Sure, because apparently finding yourself costs exactly the same as 2 years of public college. The twins were right there in the kitchen. When she said that, Haley started crying. Mason just got up and walked away without saying a word. He went to his room and locked the door. Nicole did not even seem to realize how much she was hurting them. I think that is what destroyed me the most. Not the money. Yes, it was bad, but money can be replaced. No, it was the fact that she could sit there in front of our kids and basically tell them that enjoying life a little was more important than their future. That night, after Nicole went to bed acting like nothing happened, by the way, Haley came to my room. She had something else to show me. Apparently, she had been doing her own research on social media. And what she found, remember the gym I mentioned? Yeah, apparently, that was the starting point of this whole situation. All this finding herself nonsense had a name. Travis. Travis. Even his name sounds like the type. You know the type, early 30s, personal trainer. Probably the guy who checks out his biceps in the mirror as soon as he thinks no one is looking. Haley showed me his Instagram. It was full of super cringy motivational quotes like rise and grind or no pain, no gain, with photos of him flexing his muscles under terrible lighting. A real deep thinker, this guy. The most ridiculous part is that the guy was only 35. Lived in a rundown apartment complex, drove a leased Mustang he could barely afford. But on social media, he played the lifestyle guru. He called himself a transformation specialist, whatever that means. He charged people for private sessions that probably just consisted of counting their reps while they did basic exercises. Haley, seriously, this kid could work for the CIA. Found pictures of them together going back almost a year. Fancy restaurants, bars, weekend getaways. All the places Nicole was supposedly at with her girlfriends. Places I knew we could not afford, especially without her working. Now I knew where the college money went, and this guy knew she was married. He knew we had twins. There were literally comments under his posts where Nicole wrote things like, best coach ever, and he replied with stuff like, anything for my favorite client. Yeah, super discreet, guys. I found out they had been seeing each other for almost a year while I was working hard to keep our family afloat. She was spending our kids' college money on overpriced hotels and dinners with this personal trainer, who probably could not even spell personal development. And the worst part is, this guy had a whole method. He would tell his clients, yeah, because Nicole was not the only one, that they were settling for a mediocre life, that they deserved more excitement. Looking back, it was predatory behavior. He targeted women bored with their daily lives and filled their heads with all this nonsense about living their best life and their husbands not understanding their needs. Mason even found some of their messages. Do not ask me how. That kid is terrifying with phones. This guy was telling Nicole things like, you deserve someone who can match your energy, or a woman like you needs excitement, not routine. Meanwhile, he was living off her money. Well, our money. He was probably reciting the exact same lines to 3 other women at the same time. But you want to know the most difficult part? She actually believed it. She thought this guy taking shirtless selfies in gym locker rooms was her soulmate. She started saying he understood her in a way I never had. That he was going to be successful with his fitness coaching business. I get one thing, marriage is not always exciting. Sometimes it is paying the bills, making sure the kids get to school on time, or fixing that weird noise the dryer is making. But that is real life. That is being an adult. Not this fantasy world where you leave with a personal trainer who posts workout videos in tight tank tops. But you know what really gets to me? I spent 16 years building a life with this woman. I held her hair when she had morning sickness while pregnant with the twins. I pulled double shifts at the warehouse when we could barely afford diapers. I drove that old reliable sedan for 3 extra years so she could have the SUV she wanted to drive the kids around. All those little moments where you think you are building something real together. And she threw it all away for a guy who probably Googles best Instagram captions and thinks protein shakes are a personality trait. Like, how do you look at your family, everything you have built, your kids' entire future, and say, no? I prefer this guy who calls himself a fitness influencer and cannot even afford his own apartment. It makes me wonder if any of it was ever real. If she had just been waiting all along for something more exciting. Maybe I was just the reliable one until she found someone who posts better gym selfies. The twins were completely devastated, Haley especially. She had always been very close to her mom. She looked up to her tremendously. And now she was watching her mother destroy everything for this guy, who probably could not even locate our suburb on a map. Mason became even quieter than usual, if that is even possible. He spent more and more time locked in his room on his computer. At the time, I just thought he was trying to process it all. But you know what really wrecks me? All those times Nicole was supposedly too busy to come to Haley's soccer game or Mason's school competition. She was probably with him, missing our kids' important moments for this personal trainer. I kept all this information to myself for a few days, trying to figure out what to do. A part of me wanted to head down to that gym and confront Travis, but I have twins who are about to go to college. I could not afford any legal trouble. I had to be smarter than that. So, I called my friend Scott, who is a family law attorney. Not some big corporate lawyer or anything like that. Just a guy who handles normal people's problems. Divorce, wills, that sort of thing. I told him everything. His first words, "Do not do anything rash. We are going to do this the right way." And we did it the right way. After talking with Scott, my lawyer, I had a plan. He told me to document everything before confronting anyone. So for a week, I just gathered evidence, bank statements, screenshots, everything the twins had found. Scott said the more proof we had, the better our position would be for the divorce. I waited until the kids were at school before confronting Nicole. I did not want them to witness this. I took a day off work and sat at the kitchen table with all the evidence spread out in front of me. When she came downstairs in her workout gear, probably on her way to see Travis, she almost walked through the kitchen without even looking at me. "Sit down, Nicole. We need to talk." She got this annoyed look, as if I was disrupting an extremely important day. "I am going to be late for my session." "Yeah, with Travis, right? Sit down." The look on her face when I said his name. I wish I had a picture of that moment. She knew she was caught, but she still tried to play it cool. She sat across from me as if it was just going to be a casual conversation. I started bringing everything out, the dating app profile, the bank statements, the pictures Haley had found, the messages Mason had recovered. With every new piece of evidence, she became more aggressive and defensive. Then you know what she did? She laughed. She literally burst out laughing. And finally, she said, "I was wondering when you would finally figure it out. You are so slow sometimes, Brian." "Okay, wait a second, it is me again." When she said, "I was wondering when you would finally figure it out. You are so slow sometimes." Brian, that is not someone who got caught and is panicking. That is not guilt, that is contempt. And contempt is actually the most researched indicator that a relationship is completely over. Not anger, not sadness, not even necessarily the inappropriate relationship, contempt. That feeling of being fundamentally superior to the other person. That they are below your intelligence, below your standards, below your time. Nicole had already checked out of this marriage in her head long before leaving physically. And the really uncomfortable truth here is that Brian probably sensed this shift and just never put a name to it. Most people do not, because putting words to it means having to face it, and facing it is terrifying. But here is what really bothers me. She was not embarrassed at that moment. She almost seemed proud. As if she had been waiting for this confrontation the same way you wait for a show to start. And does that tell you something important? This relationship was not just about Travis. It was not even really about excitement. It was a way to prove something to herself, that she could, that she was in control. That Brian was the slow one, and she was the one living. Except she was not really living. She was playing a part, and the audience she was playing for, Travis, was doing the exact same routine with 3 other women at the same time. Now, back to the original poster. "You are so slow sometimes, Brian." I just froze, like this was all a game to her. As if she was smarter than me simply because she managed to hide everything for a year. That is when she started her whole speech about our supposedly boring life. How Travis understood her needs and made her feel alive. He is going to be successful with his business, she tells me. He has plans, not like you. stuck in the same job for years. I just looked at her and replied, "The same job that paid for everything you own in your life. The same job that put food on our table and clothes on our kids' backs." She rolled her eyes, literally like a teenager. "The kids are fine, Brian. They do not need all that money for college. Plenty of people take out student loans." That is when I had enough. Not in a violent way. I do not play that game. But I let her have it. They do not need that money. Our kids do not need the money you took from them. Why? To support some personal trainer who probably feeds the same lines to 3 other women. She tried to interrupt me, but I was not done. "You know what Haley was doing last night? She was looking up interest rates on student loans. Our 17-year-old daughter is trying to figure out how to pay for her education because her mother decided finding herself was more important than her children's future." And Nicole had the nerve to reply, "They are almost adults. One day they will understand." Understand what? I asked her. Understand that their mother chose this so-called fitness influencer over their future? That the money I worked overtime for over the years went to hotel rooms with your personal trainer. Then she pulled out the classic. "I sacrificed my youth for this family. I deserve to be happy." Your youth? You are 39, not 90, and nobody forced you to have kids at 22. That was your choice. Just like taking their money was your choice. She started gathering her things, playing the dignified, wounded woman. "Well, I want a divorce. Travis and I are moving in together." I cut her off immediately. "Let me guess. He says you deserve better. That he is going to give you everything you want. I wonder what he will say when he finds out the money is gone." I hit a nerve there. She started stammering that Travis loved her for her, not for the money. "Yeah, right. I called Scott right after she left. The divorce papers were filed that very day, then I made a few other calls. Because if Nicole and Travis thought they were riding off into the sunset with my kids' college money, they were in for a very unpleasant surprise. The first call was to Eric, a guy I know who manages another gym across town. Turns out he had worked with Travis before and had some interesting stories to tell. Like the fact that Travis had already been let go from 2 other gyms for inappropriate relationships with clients. Eric still knew people at Travis's current gym. A little anonymous email to the gym owners about a trainer using the facilities for unauthorized private sessions and pocketing money quietly off the books. Let us just say Travis's business took a hit. Mason, my quiet little computer genius, had also been very busy. Remember how he found the messages? Well, he found a lot more. It turned out our dear Travis was seeing 3 other married women, convincing them all they were special while they funded his business ventures. The kid created a burner email address and sent the evidence to all their husbands. Screenshots, dates, everything. I told him later that it was risky and he should not do things like that anymore. But on the inside, proud dad moment. The fallout was significant. One of the husbands owned the supplement store where Travis got his wholesale discounts to resell his protein and pre-workout. That little side business, gone. Another husband was a member of the country club where Travis was trying to find wealthy clients. One phone call and no more access. Meanwhile, Nicole was still living in her fantasy world, convinced they were going to move in together and start their dream life. She was even telling people she was going to be his partner in his new private coaching business. That dream died very fast. One night, she showed up at his place with the key he had given her, the one that was supposed to prove she was the only one. And she found him with another one of his clients. The confrontation that followed was intense. The apartment complex security had to be called. A neighbor filmed the whole scene. Nicole screaming that he had promised to leave his official girlfriend, because yes, he had a real, steady girlfriend throughout this whole thing, and yelling about all the money she had given him. While the other woman was screaming that he had promised her he was single. The video quickly circulated on local social media groups. Travis could say goodbye to his reputation. And guess what? His girlfriend saw the video. She just so happened to work at the bank where Travis was trying to get a loan to open his private coaching studio. She did not take the news very well. Suddenly, his loan application had some irregularities requiring a thorough review. The twins handled all this better than I could have imagined. Haley created a spreadsheet detailing all the money Nicole had taken, including the interest it would have generated. Mason set up alerts on all my bank accounts and cards. If Nicole tried to access anything, we would know immediately. The twins also told the whole story to their friends. You know how fast rumors spread in high school? Within a week, everyone knew. All those gym moms Nicole hung out with, their kids went to school with the twins. Suddenly, no one wanted to have a girls' night with the woman who took her kids' college savings to fund her inappropriate relationship with her personal trainer. Nicole tried to do damage control by posting a long message on Facebook explaining that no one understood her and she was just trying to find happiness. Her gym friends? Gone. Even in their circle, taking from your kids crossed the line. But the consequences had not reached their final stop yet. Remember the life coaching program she had spent money on? Mason found their website and sent them an email explaining that one of their clients was using their program to justify taking her children's money. They actually refunded some of the money to me, not to her. By the end of the month, Nicole's entire situation had collapsed. Travis had blocked her everywhere after she kept showing up at his place. Her gym friends wanted nothing to do with her. Even her own sister, who had supported her at first, changed her tune when she found out about the college savings. And remember my friend Scott the lawyer? It turned out he was really excellent at his job. When we went to court, we were prepared. A thick binder full of evidence prepared. Bank statements, screenshots, everything perfectly documented and organized. Thanks, Haley. The first hearing was almost something to see. Nicole showed up with a high-priced attorney. I am not even kidding, convinced she was going to get half of everything, plus alimony. She did not even dress properly for court. She wore one of her workout outfits like she was going to a spin class, right out of the gate. Her lawyer started explaining that Nicole had sacrificed her career for the family and deserved to maintain her standard of living. Scott stayed quiet until it was our turn. Then he brought out the evidence, literally. First, he showed the judge the withdrawals made from the college savings accounts one by one, with dates and times. Then, he matched them with the hotel and restaurant bills Haley had found. The judge's face grew darker with every page. But the best part? Nicole's lawyer did not even know about the college savings. You could see him whispering something to her, and she just shrugged as if it was no big deal. Huge mistake. The judge, an older woman who looked like everyone's strict grandmother, stopped the hearing and asked Nicole directly, "Are you telling me that you took money specifically saved for your children's education to fund this relationship?" Nicole tried to justify herself. "I needed that money to rebuild my life. The kids can take out student loans." The judge cut her off immediately. "So that is a yes." From there, everything fell apart for Nicole. The judge was absolutely not having it regarding the college savings. She called it a particularly serious breach of parental responsibility. I had to look up what that meant later, but basically, Nicole had made a major mistake. Here is what the judge ordered. Nicole had to pay back every penny taken from the college savings, with interest. Any money she received from the divorce would first go toward paying off this debt. She also got way less than she asked for in the division of assets. The judge stated she could not reward this kind of financial misconduct. The house. Nicole tried to claim half its value. The judge said no. The kids needed stability. And since I was the only one who could afford the mortgage, I kept the house. Nicole got a portion of the equity. But guess where that money had to go first? Exactly. Straight back into the college savings. Her lawyer tried to argue that she needed alimony to get back on her feet. Scott then pulled out documents showing she had spent more money on hotels and restaurants with Travis over the past year than she would have earned working full-time at her old hair salon. The judge practically told her to go back to work. The twins were relieved when it was all over. They did not have to testify. Scott made sure of that. But the judge read the letters they had written explaining how discovering the situation had affected them. Haley wrote that she was preparing her college applications thinking she had a secure future, before finding out her own mother had emptied her accounts. Mason wrote that he could no longer trust his mother after seeing how easily she had misled the whole family. Their letters hit hard. The judge even mentioned them explicitly in her ruling, stating that Nicole had irreparably damaged her relationship with her children for temporary gratification. Harsh, but true. After the trial, Nicole tried to talk to the twins. Haley simply walked away. Mason looked at her and said, "I hope he was worth it." That was the first time I heard him say more than 2 words about this whole ordeal. Nicole had to move into a tiny one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of town. She got her old job back at the hair salon. But most of her former clients had already found new stylists once the whole thing went public. Since then, she posts messages on Facebook about forgiveness and how everyone makes mistakes, but nobody really buys it. A few years have passed since that difficult time. The twins graduated from high school. Nicole tried to come to the ceremony. She wore a new dress that probably cost a month's salary at the salon, acting like everything was perfectly fine. Haley saw her in the parking lot and simply told her, "No, you do not get to pretend today." Mason did not say anything. He just turned around and went inside. I was proud of them for holding their ground. The college savings situation is slowly recovering. Between Nicole's wages being garnished to pay it back, the divorce settlement, and the money I managed to save by working overtime, we are back to about half of what we had before. Haley got a partial scholarship to the public university. I told you she was brilliant, and Mason was accepted into their computer science program. They are both doing a work-study program to help cover expenses. The house feels different without Nicole, quieter maybe, but the twins really stepped up. Haley now handles a good chunk of the household organization. She made a chore chart that is detailed because of how organized it is, and Mason helps me fix things around the house. That kid is pretty handy when he is not on his computer. Recently, life is different now. A better different. I am even starting to date again. Nothing serious, just a few coffees here and there. I met a kindergarten teacher named Rachel through a friend. She has a kid of her own, so she understands all the family complications. We are taking things very slowly. The twins like her, which is huge. Haley told me she is age-appropriate. Thanks for the backhanded compliment, kid. Speaking of consequences, Nicole's life after the divorce is something else. The tiny apartment she complained about? She was evicted last month. Apparently, spending your money on designer clothes instead of paying your rent is not a very effective financial strategy. She is now living with her sister, and from what I hear, it is not going very well. Especially since her sister found out she had been using her credit card. Some people never learn. You know what is crazy? My job is going a lot better too. I was promoted to regional operations manager. It is amazing what you can accomplish when you are no longer constantly stressed by a wife who took money and was involved in this situation. The twins are doing incredibly well. Haley is taking advanced classes, and Mason has become some sort of computer genius. Like father, like kids, I guess. They have my work ethic. They are just a lot smarter than I am. I had a moment that really hit me last week. I was cleaning the garage when I came across Nicole's old vision board from a few years ago. You know, those boards covered in magazine cutouts showing the life you dream of. Hers was full of luxury vacations and sports cars. Meanwhile, in real life, she is pulling double shifts at the hair salon to pay back the college savings. Rachel looked at it and simply said, "Wow, some people really do not understand what matters in life." That is when I knew she might be the one. Looking back, I learned a few things from this whole situation. I am not trying to play relationship expert. Just a regular guy who went through a difficult time and came out the other side. The first thing I realized, you can do everything right and still get betrayed. I worked hard, supported my family, tried to save for my kids' future. I did not drink, I did not gamble, I did not chase other women, and yet it was not enough. Some people are just never satisfied with a normal life. They are always looking for something more exciting, even if it means destroying everything they have. The money thing. I was foolish there. I should have set up accounts that only I could access. Scott, my lawyer, tells me he sees this kind of situation all the time. A partner draining accounts to fund another relationship. I never thought it would happen to me, but here we are. Lesson learned. Legally protect your kid's future. I found out later that Nicole was following all these lifestyle influencers on Instagram. You know, the type who post about finding themselves and living authentically while selling products. She got sucked into this alternate reality where life is supposed to be exciting all the time. But here is the truth. Real life is not exciting all the time. Sometimes, real life is just packing your kids' lunches and paying the electric bill on time. And you know what? That is perfectly fine. The twins and I now have game nights every Friday. Rachel joins us sometimes. She is weirdly good at Monopoly. It is not social media worthy, but it is real. Nicole is now on a dating app for singles, still posting inspirational quotes about new beginnings. Travis moved to Florida. Of course he did, and now runs beach boot camps, still wearing tank tops that are a size too small. Probably still targeting lonely women. But that is no longer my problem. The twins are going to college in the fall. Haley is already planning her dorm room decor, color-coded spreadsheet included. And Mason is teaching himself a new programming language. They will be fine. We will all be fine. And Nicole, since I know you are probably reading this. Hi Michelle, I know you show her this post. I hope the luxury bags and hotel rooms were worth it. By the way, the twins are doing great. Edit. Yes, this is all real. I changed a few details because the people involved might read this post. And seriously, stop sending me private messages about Nicole's dating profile. Have some dignity, guys. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.